Hey there, this is Tom with the Diogenes Lamp podcast. I appreciate you listening in, and most importantly, I hope you enjoy what you hear. Before we start with today's episode, I'm going to ask you for a small favor. Believe it or not, history podcasts, especially in their early stages, tend not to be cash cows. Shocker, I know. I too was blindsided by this news. Now, I didn't go into this for the money. I think that much is obvious. But unfortunately, books, research materials, and equipment aren't free. Please, go to patreon.com/Diogenes Lamp Podcast, and for less than the price of a coffee once a month, you can become a member and get access to bonus episodes, recommended reading lists and documentaries, shout-outs, and anything else we'll offer in the future as this project grows. If you are especially broke, hey, I get it, but please, make sure to give us a 5-star review when you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to the pod on your preferred podcast listening medium. Your support is appreciated, and more importantly, it is needed in order to keep this operation going. On that note, I hope you have a great day, and now back to the show. Because above all, they fear the people. They fear their awakening, their active participation in the struggle for redemption. They fear that when people take their freedoms into their own hands, it will no longer be they who guide them in their future political life. Because till now they've been used to governing from above. That was Dimitri Glinos, who was a leading communist intellectual. He later gets killed, I'm pretty sure. Hey, everyone.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, he gets executed by the Nazis. Episode number 26, introducing the Andartiko alphabet soup, EAM, ELAS, EDES, and others. How you doing, Dustin?
Not bad, man. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah. You and me both. This is, it's like, this is episode 26 or whatever, and I've had like 20 episodes or so on just a bunch of stuff, and it's cool to finally be like getting into the actual Civil War.
It's all been leading towards this.
Yeah, it's been leading towards it, and it's like, that's cool, and I did that on purpose. I did that for a reason, because I thought it was important. But it's just nice to like finally be here.
Yeah.
So we left off last time, got a pretty in-depth good look at the British, what they were up to, SOE, all that jazz, kind of like their conflicting policies, if that's the right word, stuff like that. Today, we're going to briefly introduce ourselves to a variety of different resistance organizations and movements, one of which will become the largest, most powerful, and most legitimate, kind of, in the eyes of a large swath of the population during the Civil War. That group being here's my Greek, going to practice my Greek here a little bit, Ethniko Apelευθerotiko Metopo, which is the National Liberation Front, or EAM. We'll just call them EAM.
EAM,
yeah, because it's nice and easy.
Yeah.
Easier, right?
Yeah, EAM. It really rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Well, you'll see these guys are really good at making acronyms. That's one thing I think the left is also really good at in this case. The commies are very good at acronyms and other commie stuff, as we're going to see. So, I don't know, how big do you think, out of a population of 7 million around this time-ish, how big do you think EAM got at its peak in membership-wise?
I mean, it couldn't be more than like 1 million, right?
1.5 million.
Wow.
It's nuts, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It was a really big group, right? It was like EAM was a movement,
Yeah.
And they'd have a guerrilla force of like 50,000.
Dude.
Yeah, that's like big. That's like a big paramilitary force.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. The KKE, which we're going to talk about their role in EAM, would have around 300,000 members. So, I mean, think about back in the 30s from being totally gutted, being thrown in bags with cats. And being forced.
These are the cat people. Yeah.
These are the cat people, yes.
Yeah.
The cat people. These are the cat people, the castor oil and cat people.
Yeah.
That sit on dry ice.
The castor oil does get kind of underplayed because the cats really demand
the cats take the stage.
Yeah. But don't forget about the castor oil.
Fair enough. The cats do,
Yeah.
But you know who else used to do that too? With the castor oil and the dry ice anyways?
No.
Mussolini.
Oh.
Apparently he also tortured. It was a thing. I heard on another podcast called The Dictators or something like that. And then I read somewhere once upon a time the cats thing also, the Turks used to do that. So who knows? I'm sure it's a pan-Balkan thing with the cats in the bag,
The castor oil, you had to ingest it, right? Like this is what makes you
They'd force feed them, yeah. You know how they do with the duck in France with they force feed it the fat and it gets really fat.
Yeah.
I imagine they do that with the communists. They get like a funnel. They just like pork.
Oh God!
I shouldn't be laughing. This is terrible.
I mean, your insides come out, right?
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the thing with history. Part of me today was trying to figure out if this is satire and it's like falls under a light satire. It's not that I'm making fun or like mocking or anything like that. It's that some of this shit in history is just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
What else am I supposed to do but laugh?
I mean, come on. Like, if we're surviving at this phase in history, we have a dark sense of humor. Like,
True. 100%.
Yeah.
You have to have. Yeah. By the way, Dustin's got a really cool mug. It says, "Make Istanbul Constantinople again." It's got the double-headed eagle.
Yeah.
I got a cool mug. It says, it's got a picture of an owl. It says, "All that I know is that I know nothing," from boy Socrates. Socrates, right? Yeah. Actually, there's a really cool place if you ever make it to Crete. It's a place called Koukouvia. It's right next to the tomb of Venizelos, actually, because he's buried in Crete, because that's where he's from.
I want to go to Crete. You said you honeymooned there, right?
Yeah, Crete's bomb.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
They call it the mother of all islands for a reason or whatever, however it goes. It's Crete's the shit. So, now that I brought EAM up, let's start off with them. Rewind it back a little bit to spring of 1941. And like some of this we already covered in the KKE Communist Party of Greece episode, shortly after the Nazis had their last successful blitzkrieg of Europe, 100 or so commies were able to escape from the islands, from multiple islands like Kimolos, Folegandros. Some escaped from the Acropolis camp. And like a nucleus of sorts rapidly starts to form. By the end of May 1941, the National Mutual Aid, or the EA, is formed. Right? And then 2 months later in July, the National Workers' Liberation Front, or the EAM, was formed. Right? Because we know commies are really good at two things: meetings and organizing and forming stuff.
Yes.
Like just organizing. Yep. You know what I mean? So the same month, the KKE had reorganized so much and they had reformed so much that they were able to hold their 6th plenum, or meeting, like a meeting, right? And by the end of August, the old Central Committee that was formerly being ran out of a sanatorium, right? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Umblidis, I think, was his name. And any other KKE members that had survived and were free up to this point formed what would become the new Central Committee, like a legit Central Committee, not one controlled by Madman Maniadakis or whoever else, right? Unfortunately, though, we remember Zachariadis, right? The guy with the letters and all that jazz.
This is the guy that took the detailed notes?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. That was another guy. The Communist Secretary General.
Yes. Yeah.
Who went to Moscow, who was a Haji. He was transferred over to Dachau. So the Nazis, because it's like, this was a battle of, it was like a battle of countries and whatnot, but like within every country the Nazis went into, they were rooting out communism.
Yeah, it was a battle of ideologies.
Exactly.
And that's why you saw people with conflicting, like with internal countries, their internal conflicts often got set aside so that they could unite and fight against fascists. Especially left organizations got together and fought the fascists because that was bigger than their internal struggles at the time.
Right, or their even their nationality. It's like the same thing how like the Nazis would go into countries, the Germans would take over, and then they'd form like SS legions within a country. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I know, right?
So, just to like touch on it, while Zachariadis was at Dachau, the person who took over was George Santos, which his nickname was
George
the Old
Santos,
Man.
the guy
George
that got kicked
Santos,
out of
yeah.
the Senate, the House of Representatives,
And got
He
pardoned as well.
Yeah,
Got pardoned.
yeah, okay, it's gonna be really hard for me to not picture George Santos.
Well, you're gonna hear it. I mean,
Okay.
well,
George
you won't hear it
Santos.
too much. Santos,
Okay.
yeah. George Santos.
I can't. The Long
What a
Island.
time.
Yeah.
For our listeners that aren't in the U.S., today is just a hell of a day for news, current events. Because Dustin, you run a
It's a bad
current
day to
events
be a rich
podcast,
pedo. I would say that. Like, if you're a rich pedo, it's been really bad series of days.
right? Yeah. You're a rich pedo who also happens to be the United States of America.
Or a former member of the House with
True.
Matt Gaetz. Matt
True.
Gaetz had
There's been
bad
a
news
lot.
today. Oh boy,
20,000 documents is a lot.
it's a lot. It takes some time to get through. You know.
Shit, you're right. We're only on day one.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I'll stop. No, it's
No,
okay.
I'm tempted, but this is not what we're here for. So yeah.
I appreciate it. It's okay. So, just to
George
touch on it.
Santos. George Santos.
Santos, you got it. Just to touch on it briefly, the EA and the EEAM were kind of like the precursors to EAM. They served primarily as underground relief organizations. They helped people not starve to death.
Like mutual aid.
Yeah, like mutual aid, exactly. Just like the name, just like a community aid organization. They help people escape the Gestapo, escape other authorities, that kind of stuff. Right? Finally, in September of 41, a 7th Communist Plenum was convened. Because these guys love meetings, like we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Love their meetings. So many meetings, right? And finally, that's when September 27th, EAM was like officially formed, the National Liberation Front, which is a legit name too, National Liberation Front, right?
Yeah.
Publicly, its formation was announced October 10th, 41, so like whatever. So EAM didn't just like appear out of nowhere. Specifically, EAM consisted of, it's going to get confusing, I'm sorry, but 3.
I know. I am prepared for that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Dude, it gets really confusing.
Yeah.
I appreciate, even you've come along this far, I'm impressed, honestly. I don't think I could get like a Greek American to like be able
I have
to catch
just
on.
keep asking you questions to bring me back to make sure. But yeah.
No. Dude, I mean, you read a lot of other history books, so it's not like, Specifically, EAM consisted of 3 groups, plus the KKE. So like 4 groups together, created EAM.
Okay.
That included the Socialist Party of Greece, the Agrarian Party of Greece, the Union of Popular Democracy, and then the KKE as well, right? So what makes this important is that of these 3 groups, plus the KKE, the AKE, the Agrarian Party of Greece, was communist controlled.
Okay.
Right. So like you combine that with the fact that the KKE was the driving force of EAM's creation in the first place, the EAM was mostly dominated by communists.
Yeah.
Okay. That's important. There's going to be like early on, there's going to be a lot of rumors, like the SOE won't really know about this yet. And it's not something they like telegraph. In fact, they try to keep it a bit secret because who the hell, do you want to go fight with the communists? It's kind of controversial, right? But if you want to like kill Nazis and prevent starving to death, then okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like, maybe, I don't know. Especially in the 1940s before everyone, well, whatever. I don't want to get into that.
It'd be pretty easy to get pipelined into that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, when you're, a dilemma is, the least bad of 2 bad options, right?
Yeah.
So anyways. So just because like its creation was mandated by the KKE and its like leadership was dominated by the KKE, back to what point we were just talking about, again, didn't necessarily mean that everyone in EAM was a communist. It was actually far from it. That's partly why EAM was able to be so successful. Again, we've talked about this a lot. A big tent policy, right? Yeah, a big tent leftist popular front, right? It's like just a textbook popular front party.
Yeah. But dominated by the Communist Party.
Yeah. And that's the part that wasn't known yet.
Okay. So that was not known by everybody that was getting into it. Because these were like your freedom fighters, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
A lot of them were like sympathetic to the left or just straight up communists, but a lot of them weren't. It was not that everyone was in there,
Yeah.
I know it's confusing.
we'll get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like EAM like filled the gap that like the government didn't provide, right? Food, security, all that jazz, and it just helped people survive as well. So like, surviving in of itself at this time was its own act of resistance. Another big thing of how they were able to get people on, they put on a really big patriotic like outlook on things. They adopted kind of the same like rah 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 of the Greek Revolution of 1821, all that jazz. Also, they organized strikes, they organized demonstrations, and we're talking about Nazi-controlled Greece organizing strikes and demonstrations, right? Yeah. So like that's nuts to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how people do that. It's like when people are, were in, in parts of Syria, there was occupied ISIS. They were striking, doing demonstrations. Right. Like, dude, I would not.
Right.
The ball's on some of these people. Like, God bless you.
And then in places like Iran, even, right? Like,
yeah, are you kidding? With absolutely. I mean, that really amazes me when people are doing stuff like this in history.
But you also understand when they get shut down, and people get arrested and
that's the flip side. Absolutely. So as we get into 1942, EAM and KKE membership really starts to take off. The KKE in Athens, just in Athens, has over 1,000 members. Siantos, as we talked about, the old man, he just ordered a study of like opening up a resistance group. Around this time, and this is another thing too, around this time, the first early resistance groups that had started were really in Crete and up north in Macedonia, northern Greece. So like those were the first places where there were like rumors, like, hey, there's guys like roving around with guns. Like there's guys living in the mountains, which is always people living in the mountains in Greece. But like around this time, it was like a big deal. Like these guys are living in the mountains and they're like outlaws,
Yeah, like Geronimo and his Apaches.
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm so bad with.
It's okay.
Nah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, same concept though, right? So people are like, "Holy shit!" People are actually doing this, right? So yeah, and here's a really good quote as well that really sums things up. Quote: "The public servant, the private employee, the small professional man, the lawyer, the state pensioner, and the small businessman are practically starving." Another good quote. So that was pretty much from a source that was on the ground. Okay. That's from Mark Mazower, Inside Hitler's Greece, great book. And the same intelligence source goes on to state that, quote, "Veering towards the left, elements of the public who before the war were among the most conservative." That's what hunger will do to people.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about what radicalizes people, violence, hunger.
Yeah. Starving at the hands of a right-wing extremist government will make anything to the left of that look pretty appealing.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's people are like, how could they do this? Well, like 100,000 or so people starved to death just in Athens.
Jeez, my God.
So, anyways, all this stuff, the EAM was a vacuum. It filled all these places that the Axis occupation was not filling. You got to eat, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get a little more into EAM. EAM would do stuff like they'd put pressure on local servants and local government structures to feed people. Up in Volos, which is kind of like northernish Greece, for example, a city up there, People's Committee was set up to put pressure on Athens to send food and they recommended like setting up market control committees to better allocate food. Doing all this stuff to like stop people from starving, right? They set up a women's committee to help people feed children, stuff like that. And like another thing too with these people's committees, and this is what came to my mind immediately. Like Soviet. Soviet in Russian literally is the word for council.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The only reason I know that is thanks a lot studying Russian for 2 years in college, Yazabil, I forgot. I don't remember much.
Yeah, I tried to learn it from like a podcast like in 2013 or 14.
You like it?
Like 20 words. I could watch The Americans and be like, "Oh, I heard a word."
Yeah. It's cool language. I wish.
Stoeta.
What's that? Right?
That's all I know it. Yes. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, but like that's what Soviet means, right? And that's like why it's like
council.
So like they're setting up all these committees. They're setting up Soviets. That's what it is. Like during the Russian Revolution,
that's why
right?
they would say the something Soviet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the St. Petersburg had its own Soviet, Moscow had its own Soviet. They all had their own people's committee.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Again, they love their meetings and organizing.
They love their meetings. They love all this shit. And it's really funny because it's like, and I'm not at all saying the horseshoe theory. I mean, I think I'm not going to say that's bullshit, but whatever.
Sure.
Yes and no. It's very nuanced
Yeah,
with
of course.
that.
Yeah.
Right. But it is funny that, like, you have libertarians saying, oh, small government. Like, this is small government. Here you go.
Like, right. You're saying you're having a bunch of small Soviets.
This is what a small government.
That's funny. Yeah.
It's like if your HOA was running your government.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
Worse than the Fed, right? Like,
I'd be the first to get sent to the camps.
Yeah.
So here's another good quote. Nafsika Papadakis was a young girl from the mountains of central Greece who, in her own words, hadn't a clue about communism when she began to distribute food to starving local children in her village church in March 1942. A year later, now nicknamed 1st of May, she was an EAM activist. The liberation organization founded on the island of Mytilene in January 1942 was the work of Republican notables, an army major, a former Venizelos deputy, a landowner, and a soap manufacturer. Such men were hardly typical radicals, yet they found their program of moderate social reform chimed with EAM's program, and early in 1943 they petitioned to enter EAM and adopted the title EAM Mytilene. People are mobilized, people are mobilizing all over. They see EAM, they say, oh, like this is a path forward. This is something that we can be united with. EAM would be the only active underground group in Kalamata. In the town of Vlavianos, they had a couple of their own members to be the local prefecture or whatever, the mayor of the city or whatever. So like they're taking control, know. Anyways, I don't want to overload the listeners. You guys get the point, right? Big umbrella. They focus on everyday grievances, social justice, food security, and the last big thing. They didn't focus so much on the constitutional question. So there was this thing in Greece called the National Schism. A lot of the previous episodes building up to this were about that. It was the divide between Venizelists and the monarchists. Big fucking deal. It was the cause of a lot of coups. And it's going to play out during the Civil War as well. We're going to see it. It's really a question of, do we be a republic or have a monarchy involved at all? That's the essence of the National Schism. Actually, it doesn't end until the referendum in 1974.
74?
Yeah, after the 7-year junta, the Three Colonels dictatorship. Then after that ended with the catastrophe in Cyprus, where northern Cyprus got annexed after a botched Greek coup. There was a botched Greek coup by a guy we're going to talk about here today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot. And then, that's a whole nother series.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there wasn't talk about the king or Venizelos or this or that. The talk was more so why should you, a farmer, give 10 or 20 or 50% of your crop to some other German or Italian or some other Greek collaborator to take the food to Athens or back to Italy or Germany? Why, when you're starving?
Yeah.
And people were like, yeah, fuck yeah, that makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, especially in a time where people are dying of starvation. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's rocket science or something.
Yeah.
But again, it's funny that we're recording this while, the current state of things in the U.S. because it's of course, are people starving to death? Some people are starving to death in the U.S. People are rationing their food for insulin in this country.
Right.
And we're far richer than Greece was in World War II, being occupied by Axis powers.
Right, but then in contrast, like you're saying, there's golden ballrooms being made.
Right.
And Gatsby parties being
irony.
thrown. And yeah.
I mean, it's just so ridiculous that, I don't know, there was this thing that was making the rounds on Instagram that was I forgot who it was, some political scientist or guy or whatever. And he's like, I think we're going to see this and we're going to see, people trying to live forever. And it's going to get just so ridiculous and continue to get so ridiculous. At some point, you're going to have to talk about how ridiculous it is. You're going to be forced to bring up how ridiculous everything is. And it's we've been there for a while now, actually.
Yeah. I have trouble imagining the future that they're talking about. I feel like we're there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, never say never though.
Right. Yeah.
Things can always get worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, back to our story, guys. Sorry, can't help myself. So, yeah, another big deal. What was happening with this is EAM was recruiting so many people that weren't like diehard communists. They would have to explain to their own KKE hardliners why they were cooperating with so many bourgeois elements.
Yeah, right. You said there was some soap maker. I mean, that sounds like a
Right,
capitalist.
that guy's textbook bourgeois, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Owns the means of production.
Uh-huh.
Interesting for a group that, again, it goes to show that how at the time that people either didn't care or they weren't as aware of how in control and influence the KKE was with all that.
Right. And by the Communist Party, I mean, that's directly tied to the Soviets, right? Like it was set up by...
Yeah, but here's the thing. Good. That's actually a great question. You brought that up, Dustin. Okay, remember George Santos, yeah. Okay, Zachariadis, remember, he was a Haji, right? He was a diehard communist guy. Old man Santos wasn't. He was more of a nationalist Greek communist.
Okay.
There was even a split within the Communist Party.
I'm shocked to hear that. Wow.
Right? There was literally, yeah, who would have known that, right? So, yeah, that's the thing. So then that's its own other dimension, right?
Okay.
So by the end of May of 1942, EAM had officially given birth to its military wing, the Nationalist People Liberation Army, or ELAS, which is a perfect acronym for Greece. Because ELAS, the race is called ELAS, ELINES, ELAS. Yeah. It's kind of like Deutschland. Deutschland in Germany, they call it.
Yeah, okay.
The name of the country is Elada, but the race is like ELAS.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ELAS started only with 15 men up in the mountains.
Okay.
So never say never if you want to start with you and your friends want to start. I'm joking.
I do
CIA
have some friends
listening.
that I think are... oh, right. Of course I don't have friends that
Of course.
Never mind.
No.
Why would I say that?
Right. The Palantir software has already recorded everything. It doesn't matter. So their leader was a guy named Thanasis Klaras, but he's most commonly known by Greeks today. Like everyone knows him by this name. He has his nom de guerre, his war name, Aris Velouchiotis. Aris, the god of war. Velouchioti has something to do with the mountain range from the part of Greece he was from. So that's what people know him as Aris Velouchiotis. And if you say that name,
that's
people...
a beard, man. I'm looking him up right now.
You're looking him up? He's a scary-looking dude, huh? Yeah. He's no joke.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is either a war hero, patriot, or he is like... He was feared by a lot of people. I mean, you see him. He looks scary.
Yeah. Yes.
He looks terrifying.
He's got a saber.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
A bandolier.
And he used it. There are stories of him like, we're going to come across it later, but he killed and tortured a lot of people himself with his own hands. Yeah. Collaborators, according to him, but, that's a fuzzy line, right? So that's Aris Velouchiotis. He is very, very famous. So ELAS grew pretty rapidly. From roughly 5,000 guerrillas in the spring of 41 to around 50,000 by October of 44.
Wow, that is.
They were the strongest in the regions of Macedonia, Thessaly, and Rumeli, a tiny bit in Peloponneso, a tiny bit in Crete, not much in Crete, or Epirus. Epirus and Crete, those will kind of be...
I would imagine just like spreading to Crete is just physically, geographically harder to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Crete's just culturally different. They had their own group. You're going to see that had a kind of monopoly on there.
They had their locals. We have communists.
They had their locals, yeah. Thank you very much. We have our own Cretan resistance. Thank you. We don't need yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. ELAS will even have a naval formation with 100 boats. Elan, it's called. They'll also have another group. Yeah, because remember, communists love making groups and organizing.
Yes,
right? They'll have a children's youth, right? Epon. They'll have a units for the protection of the people's struggle. This group is kind of scary. Their name is OPLA, O-P-L-A. They're a bit on the darker side. They have sometimes essentially been referred to as death squads.
Oh.
their entire focus. Oh, go ahead.
The name's a bit of a euphemism. The name for the protection of people, we must kill
Of course, naturally, they're
right.
protecting you.
It does tend to go that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Their entire focus was to eliminate opponents of the KKE and EAM, both within the organization and outside of. They're like a secret police.
Okay.
So, like, think of a group of guys show up in your town or a village, and they have, like, a list of names.
Yeah.
And then they take people from the list of names, and then they torture and kill them.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of sides of the Civil War did this, almost all sides, honestly.
Yeah, right,
but
right. Nobody's hands are clean.
Yeah, honestly. But Opla had a reputation. Opla, like, they were like death squads. All these guys are going to come up more and more later. But again, this episode is just to introduce us to all the different flavors, the varieties of alphabet soup, right?
Of the communist side of this.
Oh, and we're going to go to the right, too.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get a whole soup. Yeah. So EAM and the left were so well organized, they even had their own, like, logistical needs group that also taxed the villages that were under their control, the ETA.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
but, I mean, you got to. I mean, like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're not going to go anywhere if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you organize. I mean, these guys organized. They did their homework. You know, so like even like crazy stuff like the EPON, the EPON, which was the youth wing, they would have the youth wing do stuff like housekeeping tasks, cooking, cleaning, messengers, guides.
Yeah.
Logistical support was even supplied by eventually, at one point, they had 15,000 Axis prisoners. And they would loan them out. This part's funny. They would loan them out to villages as like
labor?
slaves.
Slave. Yeah.
To do stuff for villagers. Wow. What'd you say?
I said labor. Like
yeah, as labor. Yeah.
Yeah, forced labor. Yeah.
Here's Mario.
Yeah.
Here's Fritz.
Yeah.
He's going to help you build that wall you wanted.
Hans.
I'll be back to pick him up around 6 p.m. Yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't speak a lot of Greek, but he can take instructions. He understands.
Yeah. He responds pretty well. You keep a gun pointed at him and he'll do all right. So one other thing about the whole KKE, EAM, ELAS, thing was, in contrast to other paramilitary groups and resistance movements we're going to meet, ELAS was the child of EAM, and thus it remained subordinate to EAM, full stop.
Okay.
Right? Political decisions were agreed upon by EAM's Central Committee, and while ELAS also had its own Central Committee, EAM appointed ELAS's officials.
Okay.
So you see like the puppet kind of the octopus, like, the party and that paramilitary group is heavily influenced by the KK. I mean, they pretty much are, right?
Right.
You want to get like really nerdy with it. You want to get into like unit structure and stuff. Found some stuff on unit structure. I thought it was really interesting. So every ELAS unit was led by a military commander, a kapetanios, which is a captain in Greek, right? And an EAM political representative or commissar.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, these commies, man. Like
I know these commies. These commies
they're
are
there just to keep the ideology within each group.
Yeah.
And how big is each of these? Is this group like? How many?
I didn't get a good number on that, but I imagine something around 20 to 50.
Okay. Oh wow.
Give or take.
So small units, and they've got someone keeping everybody in line.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but they weren't like I imagine.
We're not talking thousands. Like
no, there was usually like cut off into like bands.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll check that out. I'm pretty sure it's around there. But there's also like battalions, regiments, stuff like that. So it kind of depends. And also it depends too, like different villages. A village would just have its own, committee. They created their own. They got the send off by the EAM to have their own whatever.
Right. These ones are good. You can go a little light on the commissar with this one. They're a good town.
But yeah, exactly. Stuff like that, So the first position, the military commander, that's easy enough. He decides on military stuff. The capitano, the captain, would deal with like propaganda, morale, and like specifically relations between the unit and the civilian population. And of course, the political representative, just like you said, political affairs, and to make sure ELAS units and their soldiers were in line with EAM policies and directives. That's really it. Ultimately, though, later on, they're going to scrap the the commissar position and just have the Capitano take over for his
Yeah, it sounds like
responsibilities.
he could have, right? When you talked about him sort of taking care of morale and things like that.
Yeah.
Like
Redundancy, job
Yeah.
redundancy, huh?
Right.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately, the combination of EAM members providing you have intelligence, logistical support, because anyone who's a member of EAM is supporting ELAS. It's a lot of people, right? You have the ETA providing more like logistical and administrative support. You have ELAS's well-organized internal structure. You have OPLA doing its thing and whatever it does, it's secret stuff. And this really helped make ELAS into what its legacy still holds to today, which was the largest and most effective force during the resistance in the Civil War. So much so that, like, even today, when people use... So, I don't know if you noticed in the title when I said the Andartiko, that was the title of the episode. What that means is like a gorilla in Greek.
Oh, okay.
So when you say the word Andartes, which is the plural for the gorillas, it's not in the word itself, but everyone knows that you're referring to the left.
Right.
Generally.
Yeah. Well, I think most people tend to think that with gorillas in general.
In general.
But, yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Not, but yeah, my mind goes there. But yeah, okay. But in this context, like
in this context, especially when you refer to the Andartiko, the guerrilla movement, people are like, it's implied it's of the left.
wing.
Even though it wasn't all. There are other groups we're going to talk about shortly, Okay. So, and by the way, we're going to talk, next episode, I'm going to have a zoom in on people like Aris Veliotis, because people will want to know about him, and he's a big deal. Let's move on to the next group. This is the first group we're going to cover that's not of the left. Okay? Not of communist left anyways, right? The National Republican Greek League, or EDES, EDES for short. EDES was created on September 9th of 41 by a group of Venizelist officers. So these guys are kind of like Venizelists, right? Not coincidentally, this was the same month EAM was created, right? So they kind of did it on purpose. Most of the founding members and recruits were discharged officers in the 1930s, which, as we know from previous episodes, meant that many of them were those that were purged in the 1933 and 1935 failed Republican coups. Those were when Venizelos and Plastiras were like coup, and they both failed them both and kind of fucked everything up, because then the monarchists used that as an excuse to purge the civil and military completely of Venizelists and Republicans, and it affected a lot of things for a long time. Not to mention those who were purged and disenfranchised during the 4th of August regime, which Venizelos were also purged from that regime, from that time, right? So officially the leader of EDES was Plastiras, the Black Pepper, as he was called, really famous general, right? He played a major role in the trial and execution of the Six in 1922, which, by the way, the trial of the Six started today on this day, November 13th. Wow. Yeah, I know. I was going to make a post on Instagram, but I guess got busy.
That was the one you said that book you were talking about starts off with that, right? With
the Acropolis Black Terror starts with the execution of the Six. Yeah. So, but Plastiras' exile in France from his failed... He was still exiled in France from 1935, from his 1935 coup. So he had now turned into more of like a detention because, it was Nazi-controlled Vichy France now. So they did have a central command in Athens under Gerolymatos, who was another staunch Venizelist and key player in the 1922 coup. But, while Athens is a lot closer to the countryside than Paris is, it still wasn't close enough. And over time, it came to be known to all that the real man in charge of EDES was a guy named Colonel Napoleon Zervas.
Another great beard.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love you looking this up,
I was
dude.
looking this up while we're talking. Yeah. The mustache, too. Better mustache than the other guy.
Dude, that's what these Andartes are known for, just so you know. If you have a really thick black beard, one time when I first got a really thick black beard, my dad's like, you look like an Andarte.
Really? That's funny.
You look like you're coming down from the mountains.
Not of the left, right? I mean, they're
socialists, but they're not communist. Exactly.
Okay, socialist, but not communist. Got it.
Exactly. Okay. These guys end up fighting the ELAS later. Okay. This is ELAS's biggest rival.
Right.
These guys. So like they were socialists on paper. It's kind of skin deep. I mean, they're definitely not communist. Venizelists and communists, do not, like communists were purged under Venizelos' regime as well. And they were also locked up and exiled in islands and stuff like that, just like under the Metaxas regime. Maybe they weren't tortured with cats and, stuff like that, but, they were. So they did have, though, EDES did have very specific provisions. The biggest one in their charter was to prevent by any means the return of the king. And they did have a detailed policy platform for like economic and political reforms like purging royalists from the civil service. Remember, they're Venizelos. The armed forces and the professional organizations to purge royalists from there too. Of course, to combat starvation, strive for social justice, all that jazz, right? They operated mostly in the northwest region of Greece of Epirus.
Yeah.
So by March of 43, EDES would have around 4,000 fighters in Epirus, but at its height, which is like the fall of 44, right before it was disbanded, EDES would boast 12,000 fighters and 5,000 reserves. Their logistical support was heavily aided by the British. The SOE was really like linked up with EDES, as we're going to see later on.
Okay. And this was again that weird foreign policy that's ever evolving.
Yeah, it's exactly
Yeah.
ad hoc. There is no His Majesty's Queen's policy towards Greece.
Right.
So whatever His Majesty's government feels that day.
Right.
Yeah. So like technically speaking, the military wing of EDES was EOEA. No one uses that. Everyone just says EDES. So just EDES, right? Moving along, we'll touch briefly on there's a lot, guys. Just stick with me. I feel bad. It's almost like a laundry list, but it's probably
we got to get
so
through this so that we
confused.
know these things so we can talk about them more.
Yeah, 100%, because I don't want to drop all this stuff on you. So EKKA, arguably the bigger and more well-known of like the entire alphabet soup aside from ELAS and EDES. It was also socialist-oriented. It was led by Dimitrios Psaros, who was a colonel. Primarily, they were up in like Rumeli in the Parnassus mountain range, and they never got bigger than 1,000-ish men.
No mustache or beard really on this one.
Who, what's his name?
I don't know, I'm seeing a picture.
Psaros?
I don't see a beard. So.
He's a little more clean-shaven than Aris.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't as, like Aris and Zervas, those guys are really like, they look like they're big campers, if you know what I mean. They're very much camping up in the mountains. All these guys are, but the next group, I'm not even going to try to say that in Greek, the Liberation Struggle Commander, or just AAA. This crew was led by George Papandreou, who was a liberal center politician. He was the head of the Greek government in exile, actually. He'll later become prime minister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, their top military guy was a Venizelos Colonel Stefanos Sarafis. He was also part of the failed Venizelos coup in 1935. They'll later get wiped out by ELAS. A lot of these groups will later get wiped out by ELAS.
Okay.
You're going to see.
Okay.
Organization X. There's a cool name, huh?
That's a cool name.
The Chi, the X.
Oh, yeah.
He. That's how you say it in Greek is he. It makes the H sound.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the B of Vita, a beta in Greek makes a V sound in English, Vita.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Organization X. Very cool. They were a secretive organization. Not the group is cool. The name.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to endorse any of these groups.
It's led by a bald guy in a chair that can read minds. He's got a friend that loves magnets. Yeah.
You looked him up, Grivas, right?
No, I was making an X-Men joke.
Oh, because Grivas, when the picture, he looks kind of blind. You can look up Grivas, George Grivas, and just type in Organization X. This group was a secretive organization, apparently composed of some officers of the 2nd Division or something like that.
He looks like Professor X if he was Greek.
A little bit, huh? Doesn't he?
Yeah.
This group was extremely right-wing, like very right-wing. So much right-wing that the group opposed the communists more than they did the Germans.
Wow.
They almost never fought the Germans.
Wow.
In some instances, they even collaborated with the Germans to fight ELAS.
Yeah. Yeah, that X in the middle of the Greek flag changes things, huh? It kind of makes you think like, maybe they didn't have a problem with swastikas, right?
Yeah, these guys were they just hated communists so much. Okay. They really did. Estimates vary. They never got too big, like 800, 1,000 members. They come later on as well. They're going to play a role. They were created in Athens by Lieutenant Colonel George Grivas, who, as you saw, Now, you won't know this because you're a Xeno. Xeno means non-Greek. But to any of my Greek history nerds, which you're becoming one now, Dustin, you will be soon enough.
Yeah.
But to anyone who like follows Greek history, the name Grivas is a big fucking deal because this guy has a hobby, and his hobby is creating resistance groups. So after the Greek Civil War, he's going to go all the way to Cyprus and create the EOKA, the EOKA, which is like the Union of Greece and Cyprus Resistance Group. They're the ones that beat the British out of Cyprus.
Okay.
It's a big deal. Big deal.
So you're telling me he's complex?
He's complex. He's a controversial figure.
Okay.
Some people look at him as a hero. Other people look at him as, the reason Cyprus is messed up the way it is today.
Oh, like
because EOKA, first they got rid of the British, and then after that, the IRA, how the IRA had the IRA and then it had splintered off to the para-IRA or whatever, the IRA-B or whatever. Same thing happened with EOKA. There was EOKA-B that EOKA like disbanded or whatever. Then there was EOKA-B. EOKA-B did some shit. They tried to have a coup to reunite with Greece. Here's the 60-second thing with Cyprus. EOKA-B tried to do a coup to reunite with Greece under this guy named Samson, who was like a super nationalist. This went against the Treaty of Guarantee that was like in the Constitution of Cyprus, which was a bullshit constitution anyways. Some say it was set up to fail from the start because the Treaty of Guarantee said Greece, Turkey, or the British could intervene at any time if like certain things were met. So at this point, Turkey invaded. They took 1% of the island. The terms of the treaty were reestablished. Like there's a certain ratio in parliament or something like that. I'm probably botching this a lot, guys, so I apologize. This is what a lot of people forget is Turkey invaded first, took 1% of the island. Everything kind of went back to normal. And that's when Turkey did its second invasion, which was super illegal. The first one, I think, was according to the treaty they were allowed to. It's the second invasion treaty did that they now annexed the top third and, also displaced like 200,000 people, raped, thousands, and did a lot of bad shit. Right? So that's why Grievous is a big fucking deal.
Wow. Okay.
Because he has...
So what he did there led to... It opened the door to everything Turkey.
He made like the precursor to EOKA.
Okay.
The group he made. Also, he was, the leader of X.
Yeah.
And X has a reputation. I mean, I don't know. At some episode, I'll see if I can... These guys, just so you know, these guys, the X, they beat up my grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed a lot of people. They skinned people alive. So did the left, too. I mean, I don't want to say too many stories, but, like skinning people alive with tuna can tops.
Dude. That's a hard, like, that's difficult as the person doing the skinning. Like, I just feel like,
yeah,
if you're going to want to skin someone alive, don't use an instrument that's going to be difficult to use.
Have a robot do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have AI do that. Yeah. And I mean, the left did that too, burning people alive in their houses. I mean, that's why the Civil War is brutal. I mean, but X has a bit of a reputation. Unless you like X and then they're cool. They're your guys.
Yeah.
That's how it is, right? It's like if that's your team, bro, then they're awesome, they're heroes, and everything, they're justified with what they were doing, and they were killing collaborators and fascists anyways, or they were killing communists and atheists anyways. So,
well, the more you get into any of this, I'm sure, all of these people that are bad guys think that they're the good guys. And that's what makes interesting
100%.
Storytelling and interesting history.
Yeah, 100%, Dustin. That's how it always goes with this shit. It's like extreme tribalism.
Yeah.
Extreme tribalism.
Yeah.
So, let's get into the, give me a second. So yeah, X will be X. They'll be doing X things. They operate a lot in like southern Peloponnese and Athens. They're mostly Peloponnesos, the big bottom peninsula. Let's keep moving on. The National Organization of Officers, EOA. So EDES tried to make inroads in the Peloponnesos, but they were unable to. So these guys were able to like be a pretty big deal in the Peloponnesos, but they get wiped out by ELAS by the end of 1943. Excuse me. Crete. In Crete, neither ELAS or EDES made any big connections there.
No, you were saying I've been looking forward to this about Crete.
Yeah, so Crete was controlled by the EOK, the National Organization of Crete, under the Republican Colonel Emmanuel Mandakas. He ran the game there. Crete traditionally, like, it's always been Republican. Like, that's where Venizelos is from. Venizelos is from.
Okay.
You know? In fact, during the 4th of August regime, there was one attempted rebellion in 1938, and it was in Crete. It was put down really quick. It, like, was fizzed out really quick, thanks to Maniadakis and intelligence organizations and all that jazz. But that's where there was an actual rebellion against Metaxas, was in Crete. So shooting back up to the north, we have the right wing, YVE, which also went by PAO, the Pan-Hellenic Liberation Organization. They were based in Thessaloniki, had around 1,000 men in the field in eastern Macedonia. By some reports, they fought communists and non-communists alike. ELAS would later accuse them of being collaborators and would wipe them out by the end of 1943.
Okay.
And we have SNOF, SNOF, the Slavo-Macedonian National Liberation Front.
Okay, what the heck?
What is this?
Yeah.
These are the Slavs. These are the
Yes.
Slavic Macedonians. So this is where people, and this is honestly, it's like so much of this plays even into like the name issue with North Macedonia and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, like another rundown, right? Yugoslavia broke up in whatever, 90s, right? 91, 92.
Yeah.
By 93, the most southern republic came out with the name Macedonia. Greece was like, I'm sorry, fuck that. And they economically embargoed them and a bunch of stuff. And then they renamed themselves to FYROM, FYROM, former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. That was like an interim name until a thing was agreed upon.
I
This,
didn't know about that phase. That's so funny.
yeah. So it was a big deal because they put the Vergina's sun as their flag, which is the national flag. It was the emblem of Alexander the Great.
Uh-huh.
So Greeks were like, you know, that's ridiculous. Alexander the Great was literally born in Vergina within Greek Macedonia. You know, and we don't have to get into that part. We obviously know Alexander the Great was Hellenic. Okay. Then, around 2003, I think, they sent like some soldiers to Iraq when no one else would. So Bush congratulated them and gave them a gift by recognizing them as Macedonia. And they had a really like right-wing nationalist guy. Gosh, what was his name? Gruevski? Dimovsky? Something like that. I don't know. Anyways, this all, right? So these are the Slavo-Macedonians, okay? These guys, they'll actually make it through the entire Civil War. It was a communist-inspired organization, Macedonian Slavs, per the name, right? Led by a guy named Gochev. He also went by Elias Dimakin. Obviously not a Greek-sounding name because they're Slavic, right?
Yeah. Right.
But there's Slavic Macedonians. There's Slavs that were up there, you know. There's still some up there. I've heard there's some that up in Florina and up there that speak Slavic, Macedonian, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Macedonian was Greek, so it's weird to say Macedonian, but whatever. The Slavic language, it's close, mutually intelligible to Bulgarian, from what I've understood. So, at first, SNOF was an affiliate of EAM and ELAS, but then it became apparent to everyone that SNOF was very much interested in bringing back that really old KKE policy initiative of carving out an autonomous Macedonia that would be part of a communist confederation of Southern Slavs. So at their peak, they numbered around 2,000 armed men, but in late 1944, ELAS attacked them and they were forced to retreat into Yugoslavia.
I thought you were going to say they got, right, because they didn't get slaughtered because you said they made it through, but they retreated to their
They retreated, yeah. They went back to Yugoslavia.
Okay.
Well, not back, but they went into Yugoslavia. So lastly, we have there's just some independent bands. I gave these guys honorable mentions. We got 600 men under Sausas Anton, United Greek Guerrillas.
And now, did these guys get slaughtered or absorbed by anybody?
I can't say. There's so many groups. There's even other groups.
Imagine the nerve of these, the groups that we were talking about, and then there's just like 600 dudes being like, yeah, fuck you too, though. Like, we're fighting also. Like,
we out here. Out here.
Yeah,
we're here too.
Yeah.
We're maybe not as big as ELAS or EDES or the SNOF guys, but we're
These
here.
are like dudes out there driving Saabs. Like, no, come on, man. We have cars like made from jets. Like, come on.
Made from jets, yeah. There's more. There's a group called the Capitani, the captains. That's a cool name.
That is a cool.
Right? They operated mostly in Eastern Macedonia and Thrace. And then there were just like 2 chieftain guys that I came across, Athos Roumeliotis and Mikhalagas. I don't know. It's very hard to find stuff on these guys, especially like in English sources. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
It's very hard, very, 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 very difficult. So those are like groups that I thought we should mention. Obviously, the biggest ones we talked about, and we will see some come and go. We will see some even other ones that I didn't list here come into being later on. But
talk about them when they're actually relevant, right?
Yeah, when they're actually relevant, when they kind of impact their storyline and everything that's going on. But that's it for today. Yeah, thanks for tagging along, guys. Thanks for tagging along, Dustin, and keeping up with all this.
I feel like I understand the names of everybody that's involved in this now. Like, this is a good introduction to all of the characters that are going to be, and like, it would just be too much to go back every time you try to tell me what these people do in the future if
right?
you didn't spend the time to do this. So
right, because now I can at least be like, they're these guys.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's going to be mostly ELAS, EDES, but there's going to be other guys
and there's
too.
going to be like, there were so many names. Sure, I'm going to forget something, but if I were to ask you, like, you know, whether I'm on the episode or I text you about it, I'll be like, hey, that group that you just said, was those ones that got absorbed by, you know, they got slaughtered, or are they the ones that
ELAS eat them?
Yeah, exactly.
Consume them
Does this
whole?
guy have a beard, or yeah, right. Seems like the beards did well throughout the conflict.
Yeah, there's some correlation between having a beard
and getting
through the Greek Civil War. Apparently, I don't know. There's a lot of people that don't.
Σε αγαπούσα, ήσουν η αδυναμία μου.